There you. Right hand. Why don't you go there with that little 4x4? Go in there and then 10 left. Will be here. Please come in.
You look so serious. What's happening? To me, you look like you have just been sentenced to 10 years speech. No, don't worry. No one will be locked up from, except if there are volunteers. In fact, I've got a lot of empty cells right behind me. I can easily lock you up. Then tomorrow morning, I come back, continue with our talk. What about that?
We can't hear at the back.
We have not yet started, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Tumisani Mwanta. I'm one of those prisoners who are in prison here. In this prison we have 7 sections all in all. 3 of those are single cell sections. That will be our A, B, and C sections. At A section, it was for those prisoners who had newly arrived in this prison. They will be staying in A section for 3 or 6 months. That will depend on the warder that is in charge of that section. If he likes you as a group, then will be transferred in 3 months' time. But if you are ill-disciplined and cooperative, you will be kept in that section for 6 months, then you'll be transferred either to D or E section. B section was for the leaders of different organizations, the likes of Zephaniah Mutibens, Walter Sisulu's, Doivoya Doivos, Nelson Mandela's, and many more were staying in B section. Then C section was for those who were breaking rules and regulations of this prison. That will be locked up in C section for 7 or 14 days, eating absolutely nothing. It will be water and sugar in the morning, a small bowl of soft porridge at lunch, and then water and sugar again at supper time. That will be a diet for 7 or 14 days. The other 4 are communal sections. They are all H-shaped with 4 cells in each section. That will be a D, E, F, and G sections. The first door on my left-hand side, the one with the grill door, that was the administration block. That's where the head of prison and his subordinates were staying. Opposite that door, that is the armory, and that will be our reception. And that reception was also used as a court for those prisoners who were breaking rules and regulations. They will be charged, tried, and sentenced from that office. Opposite the reception, that is your study office. That's where we were granted permission to study here in this prison. And studying in here was not a right, it was a privilege that could be taken away at any breaking of the rules and regulations. Then going up these stairs, we are going to an office called the census office. This is one office that made our lives very, very difficult here in this prison in many ways. Like the letters that were wrote and the letters that were received were heavily censored up here. And our visits were being controlled from this office. If they don't like you, then you all be given a copy of the permit that will be telling you as to when your visitors will be coming over here. But your visitors would be allowed to come all the way from wherever they come from And when they're down there in those visitors' rooms at the harbour, they'll be told that they cannot see you because you have been admitted to hospital in Cape Town, whereas you'll be back in your cell, not knowing what's happening down there. And the last door on your right-hand side, that will be your hospital. That's where the sick and those with chronic diseases were staying. And that is one of those hospitals where you never had a proper medical treatment. And on your first day in this prison, you will be escorted from the harbour by as many prison warders with your legs tied with those leg irons, your hands tied behind your back, and you will be walked up from the harbour up until the main door. And the prison warder in front of the group will be knocking at the door like I did, saying, "Danke, Herr." That is to say, "Thank you, Kate." And that door will be opened from the inside. Then you'll all file in here, where you are going to be stripped naked and searched. Naked as you are, you will be entering the reception to receive your new prison clothes, and it's where you are going to be issued with your new prison card. Then you'll be escorted to A section for that 3 or 6 months. So ladies and gentlemen, you are free to ask me any questions, and you can take as many photos as you would like to. Like this gentleman in front of me has already started without my permission. But that's okay with me. I usually take good care of my prisoners. So please.
I'll tell your wife you got locked up here.
They come way here to visit you and tell you you can't. You're not here. Oh, I seen pictures of here. This is where they used to sit outside. In the yard, yeah.
How long were you here? How long were you here?
I spent only 5.5 years.
5.5?
Only.
Only 5 months.
Only 5 months.
In fact, we were supposed to serve 30 years each with my unit members for terrorism, sabotage, possession of arms and ammunition, trying to overthrow the government by force. In fact, it was a whole lot of charges in there that earned us 30 years each, but because of the release of all political prisoners just before the negotiations started, then we were all set free. That's why I'm saying onward.
How old were you?
I was 25 and a couple of months.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a B section. This is where our leaders were confined. In fact, they were not even allowed to go and watch football or rugby being played on the other side. They were always in here, that door always locked. From that grapevine up until that tree at the corner, that was Nelson Mandela's garden. He planted his vegetables in that garden. And that garden was also used as a hiding place for their illegal stuff in this section. Like one of the things that were hidden right at the corner, it was part of the manuscripts of the book called The Long Walk to Freedom, which was written by Nelson Mandela whilst he was here. At that time, this wall was not here, it was only a fence. And when this wall was being built in 1978, those manuscripts at the corner were found by the authorities and they were taken away to the census office. And as to what happened with those manuscripts, nobody knows, but that cost Nelson Mandela 4 years of his study time here in this prison because of those manuscripts. But fortunately, the rest of the manuscripts were already smuggled out of this prison by Meg Maharaj, who was released from this prison in 1976. So when Meg Maharaj left the country to join the ANC in London, he smuggled those manuscripts with him, and that's where the book was written and distributed all over the world long before the release of Nelson Mandela. And coming to these two photos were taken in here in 1966 during a visit from the international press. And this one, that is Walter Sisulu, the think tank of the ANC, is with his friend and confidant, President Nelson Mandela. And it was Walter Sisulu that recruited Nelson Mandela to join the African National Congress Youth League. And those clothes that they were wearing on that day, they were not prison clothes. Those clothes were given to them early that morning, maybe to give a picture that they were taken good care of. After the photo was taken, those clothes were taken back and they were given back their prison clothes. On this one, these are prisoners who were staying in this section doing what? They were crushing stones, these stones that built this prison. And these stones comes from a quarry on the southwest of the island. And after crushing those stones, there was nothing to be done with the product. Hence they decided to build this tennis court for themselves. And if you can look closer at this photo, you will notice that there are those prisoners with long pants and shoes. And there are those with shorts and barefoot. Those with shorts and barefoot are the African prisoners. Those with long pants and shoes are the coloreds and the Indians. And there is a short story about this tennis court. It ended up being a post office. This is where our leaders were sending messages, especially for the newly arrived prisoners in the A section. In fact, they had that special tennis ball. That tennis ball, you can open it and you can close it. So they'll write their message, put it in there, close the ball, and they'll play the ball over the wall into the courtyard in A section. Those in A section will pick up the ball, open it, read what's in there, and they'll write their response, then they'll play the ball back into this court. And always and every day, there was a prison warder standing right over there, watching what's happening here on the courtyard. Not a single one of them ever suspected that there was something wrong with the tennis ball going over the wall. After some minutes, it will be back in. And this one was taken in here in 2001. This is one of those reference groups that were invited back to this prison so that we could talk about our experiences in different sections and different working stations around the island, so that those experiences could be written down on paper, put on cassettes for reference purposes. And all these old men were leaders of different organizations. This is Clarence Makwetu from the PAC and Michael Dingake from Botswana. This old man with a cap in hand, his name is Andimba Toivo Yatoivo. He was one of the leaders from SWAPO. He was also staying in this section with our South African leaders. The rest of the Namibian prisoners were staying in T section. So Nelson Mandela stayed 18 years in this prison. After 18 years, that was in 1982, they were transferred together with his co-accused in the Rivonia tribe, except Elias Mutsoaledi and Govan Mbeki, who were left behind. The others spent 7 years in Paulsmoor prison. After 7 years, Nelson Mandela was transferred alone to Victor Verster in Paarl, where he spends another 2 years until he's released from prison in February of 1990. From here, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be going inside the cells to see Nelson Mandela's cell. His cell is the fourth door on your right-hand side. It's the one with a bucket, a chair, dish, and a cup, his 2 mats and blankets. So please, to Nelson Mandela.
Section of the prison.
I spent 6 months in A section, 2 years in B, my last 3 in the kitchen.
This will be Nelson Mandela's. After taking photos, I will follow it down the corridor.
were prison down for a second. Wait, hold on, where am I?
Nah, I just feel like if you in the medical ones, you can be good with photos.
You got it? Oh, they do. Well, and I'm laughing.
Nelson Mandela cell. This is blankets in bucket. Nelson Mandela cell. I wish we could went inside and took a picture looking out the window like how he did. That's one of his famous pictures, with him looking out that window. Oh yeah, that one is worse. At least you get some sunlight here.